One of the well-known risk factors that level up to causes of chronic disease is food. Now, from the perspective of chronic diseases, there are only two types of food: pro-inflammatory foods and anti-inflammatory foods. Pro-inflammatory foods induce low-grade inflammation, and low-grade inflammation is at the start to develop and progress chronic diseases. So actually, we want to avoid them, right? First of all, we need to get to know what are pro-inflammatory foods. Well, trying to find your way to see what are healthy foods and less healthy foods, it brings us a lot of confusion and conflict and a little bit of custom bias, like a lot of confusion because of the information overwhelm. There's so much information about healthy foods and superfoods that, bottom line, we do not know what to eat and not to eat. And there's a lot of confusion because we do not see the direct connection between a certain food and a certain type of chronic disease. There's a kind of a gap there. There's a lot of conflicting information about, are eggs good to eat or not good to eat? Is coffee okay or not okay? What about wine? What about meat? What about dairy? And there's inner conflict because sometimes we really know what we shouldn't, but it's difficult for us to change habits. And then there's a little bit of custom bias, like we all think that we are a better driver than average. And studies show that we also think that we are better eaters than the average of the people around us. So we're kind of good. And that leaves us doing little to none about changing our food habits. Now, to get you out of this confusion and start recreating health, I'm going to help you. There are only two types of food, like I said: pro-inflammatory foods and anti-inflammatory foods. Now, within these areas, there are variations, right? Some foods are strongly pro-inflammatory, and there are foods that are a little anti-inflammatory. So it varies. But bottom line, there are only those two buckets that you can choose from. Now, a single food will absolutely not boost your health in a way that you can reverse chronic disease or recreate health. But your choices during the day to make choices from this anti-inflammatory bucket, that will decrease your low-grade inflammation in your body, each step by step by step by step. And that will make a difference. That will make the difference to reverse chronic disease and recreate your health. So, what are typical pro-inflammatory foods that you want to avoid, and anti-inflammatory foods that you want to choose from? Now, many people ask me, where do I start? So I just give the start here. Pro-inflammatory foods that you want to avoid because they add to chronic disease are refined, the area of refined sugars. So everything with an added sugar of just loose table sugar, sugary drinks, and a lot of pre-packaged food contain sugar. There's not perhaps sugar on the label, but it is in a form of corn syrup or other labels. But many of those pre-packaged or processed foods contain a form of sugar. So first of all, you want to avoid the sugars that you know, like the sugary drinks, the specialty coffees, the candy bars, and what have you. But also watch out for those hidden sugars that you can see on a label, or it is really better to avoid processed foods at all, because the additives are also pro-inflammatory. So there are a lot of pro-inflammatory ingredients in processed and prepackaged foods. The second thing that you want to avoid is animal products. Now, not all animal products are proven to be equally harmful, but if you start out, it is really easier to create new habits for yourself. Just avoid them at all. And believe me, you will feel better within weeks. So these are kind of the two ways to start. Avoid the refined sugars, so also the white bread, the white grains, the loose sugars, the sugary drinks, and the processed foods that include those and have all kinds of additives that are pro-inflammatory, and animal products, so like meat, eggs, dairy, and everything that contains some cheeses, that contains animals. So what do you choose? What are good choices? Now, good choices are whole grains, are all kinds of vegetables, legumes, all herbs, fruits. So there actually everything that is fresh produce, everything that you can make from scratch, everything that is fresh is really life-giving to you. So if you make a choice, avoid these and choose your plate wisely and take vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, whole grains, and really the fresh things. Now, many people say, well, where should I start? If there's only one thing I should change, because that is a great way for new habits forming, just to change one thing and stick to that for, let's say, 30 days. Well, that one thing would be berries. The great thing about berries is that you can see this direct relation between eating the food and achieving better well-being in hours. So when you eat a cup of berries, within hours, there is less damage from those free radicals that are extremely damaging to your cells, that originate from this low-grade inflammation within hours. So meaning that there's more energy for yourself. And also within hours, you get more clarity of mind, less brain fog. So you can think better, you can analyze better. Some people even have better vision after a couple of hours after eating blueberries. Now, after a couple of days, your inflammatory markers go down, meaning that after eating blueberries, it has a very long time that it is effective for you, has a positive impact on your body. So it lowers low-grade inflammation, so less damage, meaning reversing chronic disease, meaning recreating health as a verb from a cup of blueberries. Within weeks, we can measure that there is a raise in immunity. Now, typically, people with chronic disease have a lowered immunity, meaning they have less resistance against infections and little scratches or whatever that they have. So it is really, it's a payoff to start, first of all, with all kinds of anti-inflammatory foods, but especially just start with berries for the next 30 days. Make it a habit. Now then, people ask, how much berries? Just 1 cup a day will do, but research shows the more, the berrier. So just eat your heart out. You can snack them, you can put them in smoothies. Frozen berries is an excellent choice. You can start off the day with an oatmeal loaded with berries. It's delicious, very delicious. So I hope that this helps you to make deliberate choices throughout the day, choices to reduce your inflammation, and start with those berries every day.